I'm about to unveil to you the mysteries of the universe, or at least how to answer any chemistry or answer any question in any of your science classes mathematically. I'm going to teach you dimensional analysis, which is really all about unit canceling. So let's say you have an equation like PV equals PV. And you want to get this V here all by itself. What would you have to do? Now, I know what you're saying. I would divide by P. Well, if you divide by P on both sides, the P's over here cancel out. And that gets this V all by itself. Right? Right. What about if you have V over T equals V over T? And this time, you want to get this V all by itself. What would you do? Well, in this case, you would be multiplying by T on both sides. So these T's cancel out, and this becomes Vt over T equals V. The same thing works with units. If you want to get rid of a particular unit, you either have to divide or multiply to get rid of it. And you would divide or multiply by the conversion factor. A conversion factor is something like this here. This is a conversion factor, which is now very blurred. But in 1 meter, there are 1.094 yards. That's a conversion. I could say that for every 1 meter, there is 1.094 yards. Or I could say in 1.094 yards, there's 1 meter. Those are the same conversion factors. It all depends on what units I'm trying to get rid of. If I want to get rid of yards, I would use this conversion factor. If I want to get rid of meters, I would use this one. So let's say I want to determine the length of a pencil in centimeters if I know it in inches. So if I have 7 inches, what is that length in centimeters? Well, I'm going to multiply by the conversion factor to get to centimeters. So the unit that goes before is the unit that goes on bottom. And then it's just a conversion factor. For every 1 centimeter, there are 2.54, sorry, for every 1 inch, there are 2.54 centimeters. The inches will cancel out, and I'll be left with centimeters for an answer. So I pull up my calculator. I get it turned on. And I put in 7 times 2.54 divided by 1. And I get 17.78 centimeters. Conversion factors have an infinite number of sig figs, but this is 7.00. Both of those zeros are significant. So I need an answer that has 7 significant figures. 1, 2, 3. 8 is big enough to push that 7 up, so this is 17.8 centimeters. Is the length of a standard 7-inch pencil. Let's go the opposite direction. Say I give you a measurement in inches and you want to get to centimeters. Actually, I guess that's the same direction. But 5.5 inches. We want to get rid of inches, so inches goes on bottom. You're trying to get to centimeters, and you can convert between the two because I give you the conversion factor, centimeters and inches. So for every 2.54 centimeters, there is 1 inch. 25 times 2.54. 25.5 times 2.54. divided by 1 is 64.77. Inches canceled out. I was left with centimeters. 1, 2, 3 significant figures in my answer. All these in the conversion factor have an infinite number of sig figs. 3 sig figs. My answer can only have 3. 1, 2, 3, 7 pushes the other 7 up. 64.
What is your marks for your midday analysis?
8 centimeters. So those last two are fairly simple, easy ones, but you can actually string multiple conversion factors out into one long equation. Now you don't have to, you can go one step at a time, or you can string it all out. I like to string them out. It will look like a table when I do it. If you go in steps, it will just keep looking like the last two. So a student has entered a 10-kilometer run. How long of a run is this in miles? So we need to figure out how many miles this is. So I draw a long arrow, because that's where I'm trying to get to miles. Well, from kilometers, I'm given a couple of conversion factors. First off, this conversion factor right here, you should already know from previous videos. For every 1 kilometer, there are 1,000 meters. So I want to get rid of kilometers and get to miles. So let's get rid of kilometers first and go to a different unit. Let's go to meters. So for every 1 kilometer, there are 1,000 meters. So that's one conversion factor. Meters are not miles, so we can't use that. So let's get rid of meters. And the next conversion factor we see is that we can go from meters to yards. And for every 1 meter, there are 1.094 yards. That's another conversion factor, but yards are still not miles, so I can't just stop there. I need to do one more. I need to go from yards to miles. So the unit goes below that came before, so it cancels out. And for every 1 mile, there are 1,760 yards. So let's just double check. There's a lot of steps. Let's double check to make sure our units are going to cancel out here. Kilometers cancels kilometers cancels kilometers. Meters cancel meters. Yards gets canceled by this yards down here. My final answer is going to be in miles. So I'll come over here. Miles is what I'm going to end up with. So we're going to multiply everything across the top and divide by everything across the bottom. So I have 10 times 1,000 times 1.094 times 7 times 1, which would be the 1 mile. And then I'm going to divide that number by everything on the bottom. So 1 times 1 times 1760. Now you get 6.215 miles. So 6.2159 miles. Infinite number of sig figs and all of that. Infinite. Ooh, there's an ugly infinite. The only other number I see here is 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So my answer can only have 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. 5 is going to push that 1 up, and I get 6.22 miles. That's my answer. All right, this next one's a little bit more tricky because I actually have to cancel out 2 units. Oh, they were nice to you. They only made you cancel out 1. Oh well. The speed limit on many highways in the United States is 55 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and write down the numbers we got. 55 miles an hour, miles, and then per hour, let's put the unit hours down here on the bottom, right? That's per hour. What number would be the post in kilometers per hour? So we're going to end up getting all the way over here. We want to end up with kilometers per hour. So again, we can't just go from miles to kilometers. We got to take a couple steps in between. We can go from miles, we can get rid of miles and go to yards. So I'll put miles down here and put yards up here. For every 1 mile, there are 1,760 yards. For every 1.094 yards, there's 1 meter. And in 1 kilometer, there's 1,000 meters. And that's going to give us an answer that miles cancels miles, yards cancels yards, and meters cancels meters. And we're left with kilometers, and we didn't do anything to the hours, so that's done. So we're going to end up with an answer that is kilometers per hour. Or if you want to see it as the AP chemistry would put it, they're going to put it as kilometers hours to the -1. That's the same thing. So let's pull up the calculator. 55 times 1,760 times 1 gives us that, divided by 1,000 times 1.094. We get 88 kilometers per hour. 2 significant digits. This 8 doesn't push up that 4 because that's cheating. You can't double round. So this 4 is actually not enough to push up that 8. So this is just 88 kilometers per hour. Here's the tricky one I wanted to do. A Japanese car is advertised as having a gas mileage of 15 kilometers per liter. Convert this to miles per gallon. So if I have a car that's 15 kilometers per liter, I actually have to get rid of both of those units because I have to get all the way over here to get miles per gallon. So I have to get rid of both of them. So let's tackle the top one first because that's what we've been working on. Now let's work on the bottom one because that one's the new one. So we can't just go from liters to gallons. We need to go to a different unit. And we're given the conversion factor that 1 liter is 1.06 quarts. Okay, well, what do you know about quarts? Hopefully you know that there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. If not, you need to go to the grocery store more with your mom. So if I want to go from liters to gallons, I'm going to multiply by the conversion factor. Since liters is down below, I'm going to put it above now, right? Because that will cancel them out. And then I can go to quarts. So for every 1 liter, there's 1.06 quarts. For every 4 quarts, I have 1 gallon. Now look right here. My gallons are now below, and they're supposed to be below. So that part of the problem is done. Liters cancels liters, quarts cancels quarts. I'm left with gallons. Done. That is all one part. That's just to take care of the bottom. Now we need to go from kilometers to miles. We're going to go through the same units we went through before. Get rid of kilometers. We're going to first go to meters. So kilometers above means we have to put kilometers below. For every 1 kilometer, there are 1,000 meters. And I'm going to start getting really squished here. So for every 1 meter, there's 94 yards. You do not need to know these off the top of your head. You just need to know this one. But you do not need to know these other conversion factors. Typically, they'll be given to you. If not, I will tell you what conversion factors you need to know. So 1.094 yards in every 1 meter. So let's get rid of the meters and go to miles. Sorry, let's get rid of yards and go to miles. So for every 1 mile, there's 1,760 yards. Double check to make sure everything cancels out that's supposed to cancel out. Kilometers gets canceled by kilometers, meters gets canceled by meters, yards gets canceled by yards. I'm left with miles, and it's above where it's supposed to be. So my answer is going to be in miles per gallon. All I got to do is multiply everything across the top and divide by everything across the bottom. So that's everything on the top. I belonged up. Divide by everything across the bottom. 1.06 times 1 times 1 times 1760. Close my parentheses, and I get 35.18 miles per gallon. Fifteen is 2 significant digits. 35.18, that's 4. This 8 does not push up that 2. We look at just the 1. The 1 does not push up the 5, so it's 35 mpg. And with that, you should be able to solve any math problem as long as you are given units. And if you have naked numbers, well, then things get complicated. But for right now, stoichiometry should be a breeze. That's what's coming up next.